The Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BCE, was the final and most brutal of the three conflicts between Rome and Carthage. Unlike the previous two wars, the Third Punic War was a relatively short conflict, but it culminated in the complete destruction of Carthage. This war was driven by Rome's desire to eliminate Carthage as a threat once and for all, despite the weakened state of the Carthaginian city-state following the Second Punic War. The decision to annihilate Carthage was not only a military one, but also a political statement that reflected Rome's growing imperial ambitions and its determination to assert uncontested dominance over the Western Mediterranean. 1. The background, the tension between Rome and Carthage. After the Second Punic War, Carthage had been significantly weakened. Under the peace treaty imposed by Rome, Carthage lost all its overseas territories, including Spain and Sicily, was forced to pay a massive war indemnity, and was forbidden from waging war without Rome's permission. Despite these harsh terms, Carthage managed to rebuild its economy and experienced a degree of recovery during the years following the Second Punic War. However, Rome remained deeply suspicious of Carthage. Many Roman leaders, particularly Cato the Elder, feared that Carthage could regain its former power and once again pose a threat to Roman dominance. Cato is famously said to have ended every speech in the Roman Senate with the words, "Carthago delenda est," Carthage must be destroyed, reflecting the growing sentiment in Rome that Carthage needed to be permanently neutralized. 2. The spark of the Third Punic War, conflict with Numidia. The immediate cause of the Third Punic War was Carthage's conflict with Numidia, a neighboring kingdom in North Africa that had become a Roman ally after the Second Punic War. King Massinissa of Numidia frequently harassed Carthaginian territory, claiming lands near the Carthaginian border. Carthage, forbidden by the treaty from waging war without Roman consent, could do little to defend itself against these incursions. In 151 BCE, after years of Numidian aggression, Carthage decided to retaliate and launched a military campaign against Numidia, violating the terms of its peace treaty with Rome. This gave Rome the pretext it needed to act. The Roman Senate, seizing on the opportunity, declared war on Carthage in 149 BCE. 3. Rome's justification for war. While Carthage's violation of the treaty provided a legal justification for war, many historians believe that Rome had long been looking for an excuse to destroy Carthage. The economic recovery of Carthage, though not militarily threatening, had caused concern in Rome, particularly among the Senate's more conservative members. The war was, in many ways, a reflection of Rome's imperial ambitions, as it sought to eliminate any potential rivals and solidify its control over the Mediterranean. Cato the Elder, who had visited Carthage shortly before the war, used his observations of Carthage's prosperity to further inflame anti-Carthaginian sentiment in Rome. He argued that as long as Carthage existed, Rome would never be truly secure. 4. The Siege of Carthage, 149 to 146 BCE. When war was declared in 149 BCE, the Roman army quickly moved to besiege Carthage. However, the Carthaginians, though outmatched by Rome's superior forces, prepared for a long and determined defense. The siege of Carthage lasted for 3 years, from 149 to 146 BCE, and was marked by fierce resistance from the Carthaginian population. Initial phases of the siege. Roman blockade. Rome established a blockade around the city, cutting off Carthage from resupply by land and sea. The Carthaginians, though poorly equipped and without external allies, fortified their city and built new defenses to withstand the Roman assault. Desperate Carthaginian defense. Despite the dire situation, the Carthaginians fought with great resolve. They produced weapons from whatever materials they could find, including melting down sacred religious statues. Men, women, and even slaves took part in the defense, showing the level of desperation and determination among the city's defenders. Leadership of Scipio Aemilianus. In 147 BCE, the Roman general Scipio Aemilianus, the grandson of Scipio Africanus, was given command of the siege. Scipio Aemilianus was a skilled and methodical commander, and he quickly reorganized the Roman forces, improving discipline and tightening the blockade around the city. Breaking the Carthaginian defenses. Under Scipio's leadership, the Romans launched a series of assaults on Carthage's harbor and city walls. The final breakthrough came when Scipio's forces breached the outer walls and stormed into the city, leading to brutal urban warfare as the Carthaginians fought street by street to defend their homes. The destruction of the city. In the final days of the siege, Roman forces set fire to large sections of the city. The destruction was widespread and systematic, with Roman soldiers demolishing buildings and slaughtering the remaining defenders. The famous Temple of Eshmun, one of the city's largest religious sites, was burned to the ground. 5. The fall of Carthage and its aftermath. In the spring of 146 BCE, after 3 years of relentless fighting, Carthage finally fell to the Romans. The city was utterly destroyed, and its remaining inhabitants were either killed or sold into slavery. Ancient sources suggest that around 50,000 survivors were enslaved, while hundreds of thousands of Carthaginians were killed during the siege and the subsequent sack of the city. The symbolic destruction of Carthage. The destruction of Carthage was not just a military victory but a symbolic act. Rome wanted to send a clear message to any potential rivals or rebellious provinces. Resistance to Roman power would result in total annihilation. To further ensure that Carthage could never rise again, the Roman Senate ordered that the city be razed to the ground. According to legend, the Romans even salted the earth where Carthage once stood to prevent anything from growing there, though this story may be apocryphal. Carthage as a Roman province. After the war, Carthage's territory was annexed by Rome and became the Roman province of Africa. The fertile lands of North Africa, particularly its grain fields, would become a crucial source of food for the growing Roman Republic and later the Roman Empire. The destruction of Carthage marked the end of one of the greatest city-states in antiquity and solidified Rome's uncontested control over the Western Mediterranean. 6. The consequences of the Third Punic War. The Third Punic War and the destruction of Carthage had profound consequences for both Rome and the Mediterranean world. Rome's unchallenged dominance. The annihilation of Carthage eliminated Rome's last major rival in the Western Mediterranean, leaving the Republic with no significant threats to its supremacy. With Carthage gone, Rome was free to turn its attention to other parts of the Mediterranean, particularly the Hellenistic kingdoms in the east, which would become the next targets of Roman expansion. Moral and political implications. The destruction of Carthage also had important moral and political implications. The war highlighted Rome's willingness to engage in total warfare, a concept that would become a hallmark of Roman imperial policy. The complete eradication of Carthage, along with its population, sent a clear message that Rome would tolerate no rivals and no resistance to its authority. However, some Roman thinkers, such as Polybius, reflected on the brutality of the destruction of Carthage, questioning the morality of Rome's actions. The war also revealed the growing militarization of Roman society and the increasing power of military commanders like Scipio Aemilianus, a trend that would eventually contribute to the fall of the Roman Republic. Conclusion: the end of Carthage and the rise of Roman Empire. The Third Punic War was not just a military conflict but a decisive moment in the transformation of Rome from a republic into an empire. The decision to destroy Carthage was a reflection of Rome's growing imperial ambitions and its desire to eliminate any potential rivals in the Mediterranean. With Carthage erased from the map, Rome emerged as the dominant power in the Western Mediterranean, and its influence would only continue to grow in the centuries that followed. The war also marked the end of an era. Carthage, once the great maritime and commercial power of the Mediterranean, was reduced to ashes. Rome's victory in the Third Punic War paved the way for its transformation into the Roman Empire, and the lessons of this brutal conflict would continue to shape Roman military and political strategy for centuries. The destruction of Carthage remains one of the most infamous examples of Rome's ruthless pursuit of power and dominance in the ancient world.